Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 6th presentation in the Virtual History Series, presented by Baltimore Heritage and the Baltimore Architecture Foundation. I'm Kathleen Lane, Executive Director of the Baltimore Architecture Foundation, and today I'm here in my dining room in Bolton Hill. First, thank you to everyone who donated to be with us. Your support at this crucial time allows BAF and Baltimore Heritage to sustain our programs such as this. Before I introduce Suzanne, I'd like to plug our upcoming presentations. I hope you'll join us next Friday for Jessica Damso, an architect with Alexander Design Studio, on how they transformed the old Noxzema factory in Hampden into the new mixed-use Fox building. And on June 19th, Lisa Keir will take us on a virtual tour of the Garrett Jacobs Mansion on Mount Vernon Place, today the home of the Engineers Club. Registration is on our website at baltimorearchitecture.org. Now it's a pleasure to introduce Suzanne Frasier. Suzanne is chair of the steering committee of the Friends of the Roland Water Tower. Importantly, she is also a BAF board member and immediate past president of AIA Baltimore. Suzanne is a licensed and registered architect with over 20 years of professional experience in the design and construction industry prior to becoming a full-time academic. She is chair of the Department of Undergraduate Design at Morgan State University's School of Architecture and Planning, where she has been a faculty member since 2005. As a final note, please add any questions you have for Suzanne to the Zoom chat box, and we will take as many questions as we can after the presentation. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Suzanne.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here today, and I hope you can all hear me and see my screen. Is it working, Nathan?
Oh yeah, looking good.
Oh, terrific, here we go. I'm really excited today to speak to you about the Roland Water Tower. And specifically, I'm gonna be talking about the tower's modern history rather than its past. But to begin with, I want to show you, give you some information when it was first built in 1904 and 1905. Here is a picture of the bronze plaque at the base of the tower. The water engineer is Alfred M. Quick. The assistant engineer is Robert L. Clement. The architect was William Fizon. The builders of the standpipe were Tippett and Wood, and the builders of the tower were John Stack and Sons. And anecdotally, one of my neighbors on Evans Chapel Road at the base of the tower named their baby boy Tippett after this name on the base of the tower. So the ripple effect of this wonderful piece of architecture expands through our community in many modalities. Here's a fantastic image of the—
Suzanne, sorry, we don't see your slides advancing.
You don't see my slides advancing. Let me try to share again. I am screen sharing now and should be looking at an image of the standpipe, I hope.
Yes.
Great. And let me just try advancing one more slide. Here's a photograph of the standpipe. Can you see it looking all irony and steely?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Okay, so going back to this historic image of the construction of the standpipe, this would have been in 1904, and you can see construction workers at the base of the standpipe. And if you look at the side right here, you can see one of the workers on a pulley being hoisted up the side of the pipe. The tower is 90.5 feet tall. It's 20 feet in diameter, and it holds 211 gallons. Here's a photograph of the standpipe that I took a year ago when I was able to go inside of the tower. You can see the rivets wrapping around the cast iron tank, and you can see the staircase that wraps around. It's your quintessential fire escape metal staircase that spirals up the perimeter of the tank. This is also a fantastic opportunity to look at the condition of the masonry work on the interior of the shaft of the tower. You can see the excellent condition that it is in on the inside. This tower was built to provide water to the Hampden neighborhood about 5 blocks or so to the south of its location. And it did that for 25 years until the reservoir system replaced the water tower tanks in the city. By that time in the 1930s, the tower's site, the little pocket park, had become a transit hub for the city. And here is a photograph at the base of the tower. You see the bottom of the tower on the left. This is an undated photograph, but looking at the fashions and the transportations, it's the 40s or early 50s. But I always get very, very excited about this photograph for a lot of reasons. First of all, multimodal transportation is just thrilling, and it's something that we still advocate for in our city of Baltimore. Here you can see on the right the electric streetcar system, and on the left you see electric buses. This is an electric bus with rubber tires, not with tracks. And they would all stop and circulate at the water tower and disperse there to their other routes. You can see that at one point there was a bus shelter in the park. And you can see what a wonderful sunny open space here it was in the park with beautiful hedges and shrubberies. You can see the Italianate architecture and the exquisite adjacent apartment building. And right through the back here, you see the roof of my home. I love this photograph. In the past several decades, the tower has gotten some significant designations. In '74, it was put on the National Register of Historic Places. In 2001, Preservation Maryland had it designated as an endangered site. And then in 2008, the city designated Roland Water Tower as a city landmark. And over these decades, there have been a lot of heroes and sheroes who have fought to advocate for the longevity of this structure. Here we are on the right, you're looking at a copy of the original construction drawings that were produced for this tower back in 1904. The date up on the upper right is August 1st. In the past decade, there's been a lot of advocacy activity for the Roland Water Tower. I established the Friends of the Roland Water Tower, a grassroots group, in 2009, 10 and a half years ago. And at the same time, the Roland Park was working on their Greater Roland Park Master Plan, and they prioritized the Roland Water Tower as one of the top 3 open space projects for their community foundation to focus on. This was really a serendipitous time in the history of the tower. And then at the same time, the city installed a chain link fence around the perimeter of the tower because parts of the tower, the top of the tower, were falling off. And we're going to talk more about that subsequently. Contract negotiations for saving the tower the past 6 years have been complicated. The tower is under the jurisdiction of one city agency. The land that the tower is on a different city agency. We've been through several mayoral administrations, and the restoration funds were in 3 different places. So it took a lot of years, a lot of meetings, a lot of work to reach an agreement, to reach a consensus. And that happened this year. The agreement that we have is that the Baltimore City is responsible for the design of the tower stabilization, and that the Roland Park Community Foundation is responsible for the actual construction work, the repair work of the tower's stabilization. We've also been actively fundraising for a decade. In 2012, the Roland Park Community Foundation was awarded a bond of $250,000, and they matched that and have subsequently renewed the bond twice in 2015 and 2019. Last year, the city contributed $337,000 towards the tower registration. Our city leaders have been huge advocates for this project and very supportive all along. I have to give a big shout out to Mary Pat Clark and to Sandy Rosenberg, and also to Mary Page Michael from the Roland Park Community Foundation, and to the late great Al Kopp, who was just spent an incredible amount of time and energy focusing on this project. About 8 years ago, actually, yes, 8 years ago, the Roland Park Community Foundation got funding to do a structural analysis of the tower. And they also paid $37,000 to have the belvedere cleaned up. The belvedere is the decorative part at the very top of the tower. A hazmat team was brought in, and they removed 300 bags of debris, pigeon guano from the top of the tower, and they installed screening in the openings. And here you see one of the hazmat engineers working in the tower in the fall of 2012. It's a wonderful opportunity not only to see the screens that were installed, these were installed to keep the pigeons out. The pigeons had infested the tower, but you can see the original ceiling. The ceiling of the belvedere is a flat ceiling. It's the beadboard pressed wood that you see in many house porches all across Roland Park and Charles Village, across the city. It's the same product. If your house is from the early turn of the century, it will have this product in it. And here is a photograph from that same era. I believe this was taken by Mary Page Michael. This is when the hazmat team was working at night in the tower. You can see the engineer in there with his orange ladder. And this also gives us a wonderful idea of what the tower could potentially look like if we do stabilize it and preserve it, and we can get some electricity up there and we can light the belvedere, how beautiful it will be at nighttime. I want to highlight some of the current conditions of the tower so that we're clear on how precarious its situation is. This photograph is looking up at the soffit under the roof eaves, and you can see that the painted plywood is falling out. This is some of the debris that was falling down and creating a hazard at the base of the tower. In addition, you can see that the terracotta brackets are starting to fail. They're crumbling, which exposes the reinforcement bar that is part of terracotta construction. Here's another photograph that shows the extensive deterioration of the terracotta at the belvedere. It's really in bad shape. Huge chunks of it are breaking off. It's also just another it's an opportunity to show you the view from the top of the tower. This, if you can see this on the upper left, is the harbor going out to the bay. You can see the Key Bridge. This shot was taken by a drone maybe 6 or 8 years ago, and it's a chance to look at more of the deterioration. You can see the terracotta that's breaking and failing, and that it needs cleaning up here. But it's also an opportunity to see the exquisite architectural details and construction materials that this tower is made of. Look at the elegant modulation of color in the ceramic roof, the green ceramic roof tiles. They go from green to aqua to gold, creates a lively interplay of reflective light when you look at the tower in the sun. The masonry work on the shaft, here's a wonderful opportunity that not many people will have noticed because it's so overgrown with the trees down below. The mortar in the masonry brickwork in the shaft of the tower is 2 different colors. The panels in the middle have a lovely rose-colored mortar, and then the rails and stiles that surround the panels, like picture frames, have got a cream-colored mortar. So there's 2 different colors here. Again, when the tower is restored and saved and stabilized, it will really sing. It's a beautiful piece of construction, of architecture, and of construction materials. Here are just a few pieces of missing roof tiles that I've picked up while walking at the base of the tower. Some of them, this large one is as big as the palm of my hand. But even these smaller ones, I would not have wanted to be hit with. And these 3 little pieces you can see are quite new. You can see the bright white ceramic being exposed where they're broken. The tower resides in a small pocket park that has been neglected for the past decade since the chain link fence went up. It's surrounded by shade trees, which obscure the view of the tower. And they're overgrown and choking one another and the tower. So we don't have a good view of the building any longer. As opposed to how you could see it, here it is, the base of the tower on the right. During the Jazz Age in the 20s and 30s, this was a sunny, cosmopolitan, elegant site. Now, unfortunately, it's dark. There are a lot of drug deals that happen on this site right now that plague the local neighborhoods. There's not a clear view from Evans Chapel Road across the park to Roland Avenue, so it's becoming a safety issue for the people who live adjacent to the park. In spite of that, it's still a community focal point. It's a landmark for us. And this past year, it was a school bus stop on Evans Chapel Road where some young elementary school children would wait for their school bus to show up. And that was a really happy occasion because every morning we'd hear the excited, joyful shouts of young kids waiting for their school bus to show up. It really felt like a piece of Americana. And these neighbors came from the Roldan, from Hose Heights, from Medfield. So this was a big gathering spot for all these kids to get on the bus and go off to school. Here's just a comparative photograph from the beginnings of the tower to today. This is a photograph I took just this fall. And you can see how hidden the tower is. We don't even get to see the beautiful rustication at the plinth at the base of the tower that exists. And from the street, you can see the gap-tooth smile, the damage that has happened over the past 115 years to the structure. Can you all still hear me? How is the technology going?
Coming in great, Suzanne.
Thank you. Okay, well, I can't give you a presentation about the tower without talking about our latest addition to our neighborhood family, the Peregrine falcons. And here's one of them up at the top of the tower. It's also a great opportunity to see what these gorgeous ceramic green roof tiles look like up close. They also they've got a lot of falcon doo-doo on them, but that's okay. It comes off in the rain. So we've got one of 25 pairs of falcons that live in Maryland, make Maryland their home. Here's one of them up under the roof eave of the tower, again, with this broken, deteriorating plywood that's falling out. They get up on there. The falcons are roosting in the roof, in the pointy roof. Unlike 10, 20 years ago, the pigeons infested the belvedere. The falcons started roosting in the tower in the winter of 2014 after the hazmat team cleaned out the filth that was in the belvedere. Every year now, the same pair comes back. They move in around Christmas, New Year's, and they start nesting up there. And every year they've hatched 1 to 3 fledglings. They've got 3 this year. And they stay for about 6 months. Right now, they're still there. And then once the little babies grow up enough, they move on. Falcons these peregrine falcons are very, very territorial birds. So they shoo their babies off. The babies have to leave and go find their own turf. But this couple comes back every year. And they are they're Baltimoreans because the city, thankfully, a year ago, got us an officer of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, a 30-year veteran of the service who is serving as a falcon advisor for our tower project. He has assured us that we have multiple options for assisting the raptors during the construction project, and that no matter what happens and no matter how disruptive it is, we should not worry, because the tower is the Ritz Hotel for peregrine falcons. They'll come back no matter what. 2019 was a big year for us at the Roland Water Tower. The Roland Park Community Foundation in Baltimore City signed the agreement after almost 3 years of negotiation. And at that time, the city agreed to contribute another $49,000 to the project. Thank you. Mary Page Michael and I went down to Annapolis, and with the support of Sandy Rosenberg, got another $75,000 bond bill here. Happy Mary Page and I celebrating in downtown Annapolis last winter. The Board of Estimates approved our project in June 2019, and the city hired JMT Incorporate to produce the construction, the stabilization documents for the project. And things were really running right along. JMT finished their drawings last fall, 2019. Roland Park Community Foundation had hired architect Tom McCracken to serve as the owner's representative for this project. And then the Roland Park Community Foundation and the Friends of the Roland Water Tower took the finished drawings from JMT and got bids from 4 general contractors. They were interviewed, and the project was awarded to Lewis Contractors, the same contractor who successfully restored the Washington Monument. Next steps are in stabilizing the project, the tower. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a hiccup for us. In addition, the volatility in the stock market has caused a bit of an interruption, but we're picking up speed again as everything starts to stabilize. We have about 69 months to raise additional funds, and then construction can start. It'll take about 1 year. And in the meantime, design and fundraising for the Tower Pocket Park has begun. And with that, I'd like to ask you all to please find us on Facebook. The Friends of the Roland Water Tower is a Facebook page where announcements are made for the tower. And we're gonna do some Q&A now.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Suzanne, for the presentation, and kudos to you and to everyone in the community, the Friends of the Roland Water Tower, and everyone who have been responsible for this really important effort to stabilize and preserve this very iconic building. Well, now we're going to give everyone a chance to think of any question they've ever wanted to ask about the tower and put it in the chat box. Any questions you've ever wanted to ask about the Falcons. Suzanne has changed set, as you can see.
Can you hear me? I'm coming to you live from the Roland Water Tower.
Great, Suzanne. Wonderful. Well, I'm going to go through some of the questions. Everyone, please continue to add your questions here. All right, so here's a fun one. I once saw a proposal to renovate the tower into a residence. What are some of the craziest ideas you have heard of to reuse the tower?
Kathleen, can you repeat that, please?
Sure. The question was, The questioner once saw a proposal to renovate the tower into a residence. Are there other similar kinds of ideas, crazy ideas you've seen for the adaptive use of the tower?
That was the that was the most crazy one. Some
Okay.
people wanted to put a cafe in the tower. That was another. These are wonderful ideas, but the logistics of them and the cost is a big issue. We'd have to make it handicap accessible and bring it up to code.
Will the tower be accessible to the public at any point?
No, it won't for the stabilization project. If that's the next, that would be the next project for the tower. It's not part of the current project.
Great, good. What city agency controls the building and who controls the land?
It's DGS and DPW. So, and it's a city building.
And the land as well as DPW?
DGS.
Okay. What is in the standpipe right now?
I haven't been inside it. I think it's empty.
Here's a question about the new lighting, and would the new lighting disturb the Peregrine falcon family?
That's nothing's going to disturb the falcons. We're going to get a nesting box installed inside the tower so that they're going to have their own hotel suite. It's going to be like the Plaza Hotel for Peregrine falcons.
All right, we'll have to name one Eloise. How will do you know how the missing balustrades will be restored?
Well, yes, I do. They can be replaced, they can be reconstructed, they can be matched. There also may be some in existence that we could use. So we have a lot of options. It depends on the degree of damage that one of them might have. There might be one that just needs cosmetic, and there might be some that need to be completely replaced. So it varies.
Okay, another question about the historic material. In the historic photo, there's a distinct color difference in the masonry at the edges of the octagon from that of the spandrels in the modern photo. The masonry looks monochromatic. Can you explain?
That I need more information to answer that. Do they mean the brickwork or the terracotta? Or
it's in the brickwork and in the I guess in the terracotta, the spandrels, the way that appears in the modern photo. Is it an issue potentially of cleaning, especially in the
outside of the tower does need a gentle cleaning, and I'm not sure which this question refers to, but if they want to send me an email or post it on Facebook, we can get to the bottom of it. I'd love to give them the answer that they're looking for.
Okay, great. There are a few people who are really interested in the copies of the original drawings of the tower that you showed, which were really beautiful. And if there's any chance that we can post those PDFs along with the video.
I think we could. That would be great.
Great. A little bit of background noise if anyone can just mute their sound. Okay. The question was the brickwork refers to the shaft, but we may have to follow up on that one. Another question. I think we'll have time for a couple of more. Do you have any information on the West Arlington Water Tower? Is there any possibility, on the status of that, and any possibility that historic elements of that can be used to replace what's missing on the Roland Park Water Tower, the Roland Water Tower?
Oh, well, no, that's, yes, the Arlington Water Tower is an exquisite piece of architecture. And as soon as I get this one fixed, I'm moving on to that one. No, that we're not going to use that tower for parts. We're going to restore the Arlington Tower next.
Outstanding, outstanding. Well, one last question. I think this is an important one. How much money do you need to raise in the next 6 to 9 months, and how can people help?
Oh, thank you. Well, we need to raise a lot of money. 6 figures, but we're pretty confident that we can do that. And please stay tuned. We'll let you know how you can help. If we get to a place where we need your help, believe me, you will hear from us. And the place to stay tuned is our Facebook page for the Friends of the Roland Water Tower.
Great. Well, thank you so much again, Suzanne. Thanks to everyone who joined us. And again, we'll be posting the recording on our website. And please join us next Friday for our next presentation. Thanks, everyone.